Welcome to Eye on Paulsboro. This week's program comes to you from historic Hill Studio. We are in what used to be the balcony on the second floor, and it's good to get a new show in. I had been traveling to Taiwan, of all places. Irma?
And I was in Florida, John, and I'm sure the Taiwanese really enjoyed you.
I certainly enjoyed them. Very, very hospitable people. We hope you're going to enjoy the show to follow. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Multi-policy discount. Paperless discount, paid in full discount, homeowners discount, safe driver discount, chipmunk family reunion, someone stole the nuts, squirrel jail, justice.
Countless discounts. Now that's progressive. Call or click today.
Thinking about a new appliance or an LCD TV? Don't think twice. Think Weiss. Weiss True Value has a full line of LCD TVs plus a great variety of appliances. And of course, hardware items like TrueTest paints, Master Mechanic tools, electrical supplies, key duplicating, and Rug Doctor rentals. And for repairs on screens and windows, look no further. Weiss True Value, from making keys to selling appliances and LCD TVs. Don't think twice. Think Weiss. 39 West Broad Street, Paulsboro.
For everything, there's a season, and a time for everything under heaven. A time for sharing, a time for caring, a time for remembering, and a time for parting. When that time arrives, let Beth McBride Foley and Thomas D. Foley at the McBride Foley Funeral Home help you in your time of need. Offering a wide variety of funeral services from cremation to traditional, McBride Foley Funeral Home has been helping families with the loss of a loved one with over 50 years of combined service. McBride Foley Funeral Home, 228 West Broad Street, Paulsboro.
Welcome back to the show. With me now is Mike Karlovich. I think I got that pretty close, from Paulsboro Refinery. Actually, he's based in the home office, which is in New Jersey. I think it's pretty special. The O'Malley brothers, if you recall, we had them on the show when they did the transaction to take the refinery. And Michael joins us now with sort of an update, a little bit of overview on business, and we're going to talk about some neighborhood things as well. So first of all, Michael, welcome back. Appreciate you making the trip on a Friday. Hess is announcing they're closing their New Jersey refinery. You guys have made a significant investment and are operating.
That's correct, John. And in fact, last year, Hess closed a really big refinery down in the Caribbean. At one point, it had done 650,000 barrels a day times 42 gallons. So that was a big hit to the Caribbean last summer. And then actually at the end of last month, they shut down the Port Reading refinery in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And, and it's sort of like up the road here at the Eagle Point plant, where it's just shut down and they don't plan to reopen it. On the Hess side, was that a full refinery as you are here, or it didn't seem as big as this place? Well, you're correct. It is smaller. It's roughly a third the size of the Paulsboro refinery, and in fact, they would import feedstocks. They didn't run crude oil there. They ran sort of a partially refined feedstock there, and they would have to go out in the market and buy it. But so, for example, the New Star plant here could sell whatever's left over from the asphalt up to Port Reading, and then they would refine it. And but Port Reading was the original Hess refinery, and that's where the company was started. And they essentially decided to get completely out of refining. So they've divested themselves of all the refining assets, and they're going to get out of their marketing as well. So they're tough businesses. They are difficult businesses. I didn't realize they were going out of the marketing side because they have a real good reputation on the consumer side. Now, how about on the local front? We take these things for granted. You hear me say that often. Heavy industry is important. And I always like to say that those around us have been very good neighbors. So general update, Mike, where do you want to pick up the conversation? Well, the Paulsboro refinery has been here since 1917, so it's part of the fabric of the community here in Paulsboro. And when you step back and you look at the roughly 450, 460 permanent jobs that we have, our employees, and you look at the 200, 250 contractors every day, it is part of the economic engine for the area as well, as providing the fuels that we've sort of come to, in some ways, take for granted, but they're giving us the highest standards of living and mobility in history. And you just came back from Taiwan, right? Irma was down in Florida. It's we just take it all for granted now, but those are the products that we provide. And when you look at the complexity of this type of an operation, where you have 24/7 operations and a product mix that's essentially geared towards burning, right? We're managing risk. We're managing risk all the time, and so that people can have the fuels that they need. And in fact, during Superstorm Sandy last November, our refinery was able to run, whereas up in North Jersey, both the Hess plant, it was running at the time, and then the Phillips 66 plant were shut down, as were all the terminals up there in the Port of New York. So we played a really important role, not only down here, but trucks were coming from North Jersey here and to our Delaware City refinery to pick up fuels. So, in times like that, that's when you realize how important these facilities are, whether it's other plants shutting down and this one continuing to run, or other plants not being able to run because, in that case, an act of God. But nonetheless, we're able to be there to help out.
And you mentioned 24/7. It doesn't stop. So the attention to details, and particularly on the safety side, I mean, there's the business side. It's complicated, taking crude oil, turning it into various products. And the fact that, it arrives at the pump, and although we all like to see the price to be less, there are a lot of influences on that side. So there are 2 points of conversation, Mike. First, sure. And whatever you'd like to speak about first. But on the safety side, we came through the train wreck, and that fortunately had a happy ending, although there are a lot of pieces still put together. But when I say happy ending, no one hurt seriously, and no loss of life and no loss of property, other than Gary's house is sort of beat up, but fortunately he's back in at the moment. So how, in this time where we are all very knowledgeable about the environment, how does it fit?
Well, number one, in any industrial facility, health and safety are paramount, right? So you're going to talk about NewStar getting the VPP. We just got our VPP credentials renewed in October, and all of our employees are really proud of that fact. It's a special program that the Occupational Safety and Health Administration has that recognizes the relationship between the management, the workers, and the government in terms of OSHA. So that was a great accomplishment to get that renewed. But in terms of the Conrail incident, we're part of the emergency response call out here, and our folks, led by Pat Robinson, came over to the site immediately. They were called by the borough. They came over and they started to help, and in fact, set up the command center, which is where ultimately the Coast Guard and the other agencies helped run the response for the overall incident, and our folks were part of that as a mutual aid that exists in the area, and they're highly trained. In fact, Pat was at the county hazmat center doing some training yesterday. He was a trainer yesterday, so that's sort of part of the way we're integrated into the community. In that we're trained. We have the trained personnel. We have the equipment and the knowledge and experience to be able to respond to those kind of incidents. And we're glad to be able to help in this community.
I was there for that, and I think I may have said it on a previous program, but as the incident unfolded early, before everything marshaled up, the Paulsboro refining people and the NewStar people were on the site with air monitors, and gave me a great deal of comfort seeing them there, because working around materials that the refinery doesn't handle volatile chloride necessarily, but they handle hazardous materials and understand it, really supported our volunteers and the first responders in. So we're very grateful for that, because Pat was on site, had to be almost 24 hours straight on as initially unfolded.
Right, and he actually worked the full 15 days while the command center was in operation. And that's, that is one of the ways that we can give back to the community. In terms of the air monitoring, it's important to note that in the refinery itself, we do run 24/7, and we have trained and qualified personnel who monitor and control, all the equipment that you see when you go past the refinery, and so we monitor pressure, volumes, temperatures, and what's going on inside the towers, so that we get the right fuel, but also so we keep it all inside the pipes and the tanks and the towers, right? And so as part of that, in all that monitoring, we're able to see if there is a problem. So, for example, with the flares, we actually have cameras that watch the flares so that we can adjust the flares, put steam into them, and make the combustion better if we have to. But that's part of our safety systems. So everything is designed around safety, safety, health, and the environment. And our folks actually, they sort of all share in a goal, in certain goals. And the fundamentals are to work safely, to run the plant reliably in an environmentally responsible manner. And that air monitoring that we do, the monitoring that we do of the equipment leads to the air monitoring. And, a lot of people know that we're heavily regulated. So I did want to bring along an example. This is the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection code for essentially air controls.
Why don't you hold it on the side so Fred can get a shot of it to see the number of pages. Hold it that way.
And they're back to back. So.
And no pictures, I might add.
Right. So it's all about air control, and we all the industrial facilities here.
By the way, Michael, this is the official edition. It says right there.
It absolutely is. It's pretty heavy, isn't it? So but those are kind of regs that we follow, and we have a staff that ensures that we're following all those regulations. And if there is an incident in the refinery, we'll contact the emergency responders here in the community and work with them in tandem, just like we did for the Conrail incident. Ultimately, if you step back, we also have the community advisory panel for both Gibbstown and Paulsboro called the GAPCAP, and that was set up as a forum for industry, residents, public officials, emergency responders to all get together and understand the relationship between these industrial facilities and the community and how we can work together. And in fact, before the incident, there were discussions around shelter in place, which became an issue later, because there's been shelter in place instructions in the schools, and subsequent to the incident, it was decided to go back into the community like we used to do and have some sessions. So they're working on scheduling some sessions here in the community on shelter in place.
It's very important stuff. I recall when I was still serving as mayor, the GAPCAP coordinating through the refineries had issued laminated shelter-in-place directions. We should almost have a contest to see how many homeowners in Paulsboro and Gibbstown can find theirs, because frankly, I couldn't find mine, which is not a good thing, by the way. But and we make mention of that because you learn from incidents that happen, and there are always better ways to do things. And a lot of our safety depends on what we do under those kind of circumstances. So GAPCAP's been real good for us in general, and I'm pleased to hear that they're going to go back and revisit, because we may have to do a redistribution on the shelter-in-place stuff. And I also think that shelter-in-place ought to have degrees of sheltering in place, because sometimes it's just limit your outside exposure, not necessarily tape windows, put plastic up. But we learn from that stuff. Yes. We're going to pick that up. As we close the segment, we were talking coming in, gas prices, home heating oil prices are affected by a lot of things.
That's absolutely correct. We have a very dynamic marketplace, and there's a lot of things that people know about, like, say, geopolitical turmoil, in other countries, and sometimes disruptions in supply of crude. But one of the amazing things that's happening right now that's changing the energy landscape in the United States is that there's a number of new finds in North Dakota, in Texas, in New Mexico, actually in Pennsylvania, right next door, as well as up in Canada, both in Alberta, out in Western Canada, but also in Newfoundland here on the East Coast. So there's a lot of new crude oil. There's a lot of new natural gas finds coming into market. And in fact, we've been running some North Dakota crude here. And so that's sort of changing the way people are looking at energy independence and energy security. And one of the things that's happening right now, in fact, yesterday in the House of Representatives, the Energy and Commerce Committee decided that they're going to take a look at the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007. And what does it mean for us as drivers, right? Well, it means that back then they mandated ethanol use, and ethanol is made from corn, and primarily in the United States it's corn, and in Brazil it's sugarcane. But with this ethanol, it only has 75% of the energy of gasoline. And there's also these credits that's like a hidden tax on them. So right now, it jumped from less than a penny a gallon. Right now, it's about 7 cents a gallon. So, that could hit the marketplace. And people don't realize that instead of going into the food supply, it's going into their fuel. And one of the things that happened, it was originally mandated back in 2005 on the ethanol side, but you have corn, soybeans, and canola, 3 of the building blocks of the food supply. And all those now go into either gasoline or biodiesel, and also bioheating oil in some places. And what's happened since 10 years ago, the price of those 3 grain have gone up by a factor of 3, a little bit less in the canola, but the other 2 a little bit over three times. So our food, when you go and you buy cereal, you buy chicken, poultry and livestock, eat the corn, right? So there's been a spike in food prices as well. So the Congress is going to take a look at that, and we think that's a really good idea.
That was talked about when MTBE was taken out of gasoline and what the effect was going to be, and this is another point that's sort of in the weeds, but the inexpensive, I just drew a blank, that goes to ethanol. You mentioned it on the feedstock, which is grain on our side, yes. To make the ethanol. Coming out of South America, where it's inexpensive sugar, there's a high tariff to protect our farmers. There is no tariff on finished gasoline or heating oil coming into the New York port. There's a high tariff on the other product. So, this is, it's never free, and it's very complicated. And we appreciate Michael visiting with us. And from time to time, it's good to have these updates. It's heavy industry, it's important industry, and it's a safe industry if people pay attention. But there are risks and benefits. That's the way life is. So we'll look forward to this next round of information into the neighborhoods on the sheltering in place. Always good to know. And the fact that the requirement of air monitoring at the refinery tied with our DEP, we have to just be knowledgeable about that. So stay with us. We're coming right back.
Life is a journey that we travel with a lot of uncertainty. When your family is faced with change and you're in need of understanding, direction, honesty, and professionalism, we at the Landolfi Funeral Home have a tradition of assisting you with all of your needs in any way that we can. We offer many affordable funeral services. Please feel free to call us with any questions you may have or visit us at www.landolfifuneralhome.com.
Rizzo Family Chiropractic Center in Gibbstown offers pain relief with a difference. Using specific chiropractic adjustments, Rizzo Family Chiropractic will get to the root of your problem quickly. Bring your headaches, neck, back, joint, or limb pain to Dr. Karen Rizzo. If you have recurring pain, chiropractic can help. Rizzo Family Chiropractic can relieve many sources of pain without extended treatment and ongoing therapy. Give your family the gift of caring professional pain relief with a difference. Rizzo Family Chiropractic.
Welcome back. We continue our focus on our industrial neighbors with this segment on the New Star Terminal, which is located, if you remember, heading into Lincoln Park, off to the left where the trucks load out. When I saw New Star Terminal, first thing I thought was the asphalt refinery. Turns out that I was in the wrong place when I was talking to Rusty about doing a segment. But they joined us because there was good news from there with respect to their achieving the award. Actually, and Mike mentioned it on the refinery side, and now Rusty's here to tell us. So Rusty, and actually you should take that down. So it's the VPP New Star, and this is just a beautiful plaque. And it says it best because it says the Occupational Safety and Health Administration recognizes New Star Paulsboro Terminal and gives them the award of Star Voluntary Protection Program. Tell us about the standard, Rusty.
It's OSHA Voluntary Protection Program. It's an agreement between the employees, management, and it's to operate the facility as safe as we can.
A little bit of details on this, because when you see the fuel trucks going up and down the road, a portion of them would have been loaded by his people. He mentioned to me as we were getting ready for this, 5 employees. It's a 24/7 operation, and you trucks just don't pull in. I mean, there's some other activity. Branded gasoline is a term used, like when you pull up to an Exxon Mobil station, Valero. They may have a little bit of different formula. So how does that part work? The refinery makes a product, and then how do you customize it to go to where it's supposed to go?
Yeah, the refinery has a base product that they send over to us, and then we'll take the product and blend it certain ways to make a specific brand of gas for the customer specification.
It doesn't sound uncomplicated, and it sounds like a lot of responsibility. As those trucks go down the road, almost 9,000 gallons?
Yeah, roughly around 9,000 gallons of truckload, yes.
And those trailers, I've noticed, as they go to a fuel station to make a delivery, they're compartmentized?
Yeah. Most generally they're about 4 compartments each. They can carry premium, super, or a mid-grade and a regular on the.
Or they could carry all of one.
Or all one if they want. Yes. Yes.
Was. That had to be a busy place. Mike was on. You were here for the interview involving the refinery, and when the North Jersey refineries were shut down for Sandy and the pipeline process was interrupted, how'd you do capacity-wise?
We probably went up a third more than what we normally do. In the month of November, we did 1 million barrels through the loading rack, which our normal is probably about 800,000.
And is that at capacity at that point, Rusty? I mean, is there more you can move if you had to?
If we had to, we could probably move a little more, but then we would have to start expanding the loading rack.
Now, this designation that the terminal has received, this stuff doesn't happen lightly. It takes time and discipline.
Yes. Yeah, it's a 24/7 focused all the time on safety.
And so that's injury, and that's how you work on the rack?
Yes. We've had 17 years without a lost time injury, 15 years without a recordable injury, and 14 years without a recordable spill.
It's a big deal, and to mark that occasion, they had a celebration. The company officials made their way in. Barbecue was provided. A flag designating the facility was raised. And I recall a number of years ago when the refinery had that. It's not an insignificant achievement. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
My father drove a truck. He's probably watching the show. Of course, he often can't hear it because of quality control issues with his television set. But I remember him telling me stories in cold weather. Working on a loading rack is not easy.
No, it's not. No, you can't work with heavy gloves on. You got to have real light gloves, and of course your hands are freezing when you're out there in the 20s working on the loading rack.
Those trucks load. Do they load under pressure? Their pump pressure how quick does a truck load?
It's roughly about 9,000 gallons of gasoline in about 20 minutes.
That's a lot of product to move quickly.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be very safe. Can you imagine handling that kind of volume? And imagine paying that bill, by the way. So you take 9,000 gallons, you know what the price is at the pump, you get an idea of what that load is worth. Rusty, that's a lot of value.
Yes.
And this accomplishment's a big deal. And, we salute our friends at the terminal. Well-deserved and a real good neighbor. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Multi-policy discount. Paperless discount. Paid in full discount. Homeowners discount. Safe driver discount. Chipmunk family reunion. Someone stole the nuts. Squirrel jail. Justice.
Countless discounts. Now that's progressive. Call or click today.
Thinking about a new appliance or an LCD TV? Don't think twice. Think Weiss. Weiss True Value has a full line of LCD TVs plus a great variety of appliances. And of course, hardware items like True Test paints, Master Mechanic tools, electrical supplies, key duplicating, and Rug Doctor rentals. And for repairs on screens and windows, look no further. Weiss True Value, from making keys to selling appliances and LCD TVs. Don't think twice. Think Weiss. 39 West Broad Street, Paulsboro.
For everything, there's a season, and a time for everything under heaven. A time for sharing, a time for caring, a time for remembering, and a time for parting. When that time arrives, let Beth McBride Foley and Thomas D. Foley at the McBride Foley Funeral Home help you in your time of need. Offering a wide variety of funeral services from cremation to traditional, McBride Foley Funeral Home has been helping families with the loss of a loved one with over 50 years of combined service. McBride Foley Funeral Home, 228 West Broad Street, Paulsboro.
Welcome back. It's time for Community Notes with Irma Stevenson. Normally the program has 3 segments. We had 2. We wanted to take extra time having the refinery guy, Michael, in to visit with us because it's informative and hopefully you found it to be informative. But it's time for Community Notes. I'm going to start, Irma. I had the real honor to travel to Taiwan with a legislative delegation on both some trade issues. We talked to port people, talked to wine distribution people for our wine industry, and had a chance to meet with government people. We'll add some stuff as we go on programs. But this picture is a real honor for me to show you because I got a chance to be part of a briefing with the Admiral of the Taiwan Navy. And it was an honest, legitimate briefing, and he spent an hour with us. His name's Admiral Chen Yeong King. I probably have mispronounced that to some extent. But what a gentleman. Spent a lot of time in America and left there with a real sense that there's a high level of competency associated with how they're approaching their military protection. And very humbling to see what high esteem the Taiwanese people hold America, how important they think democracy is. I remember it was a great trip. It was long, but great.
John, were they used to your ways? Did they get used to you?
Well, I was very comfortable there, and I felt like a guest in their home. So I was on my best behavior, and fortunately the event concluded without any international incident.
How was the wine, John?
Well, we brought New Jersey wine.
Oh, great,
And
okay.
wine is slowly being accepted there because wine over in that part of the world was considered to be a privilege of the wealthy. So, but now more people can afford this, and New Jersey wines are finding their place, especially the fruit wines, blueberry wine, pomegranate wine. And I was carrying some of Tomasello's wines, which are very good.
Well, John, good, great. You know, over a glass of wine, music and wine, things can be settled.
One thing is certain, people are just people.
Right. Happy birthday to Carl Everline, Archie Romnick, Jennifer Turner, Beth Stevenson Kelly, Jean Bay, Jennifer O'Leary, Brian O'Leary, Richard Madden Jr., Michael Koenig, and Bridget Madden. Happy anniversaries to Lisa and Billy Mitchell, Debbie and Anthony Kniestout, and Lynn and Gary Stevenson. Chinese auction. Here we go, John. Are you ready
Just
for
got back from Taiwan.
You see? Chinese auction sponsored by a Paulsboro Day Committee, Saturday, April the 20th. Doors open at 5, auction at 6. It will be at the Billingsport School, Nassau Avenue. Entry cards $4, tromboli table, door prizes 50-50. Refreshments available for purchase. These proceeds do help keep our entertainment for our kids and amusements free for Paulsboro Day, which will be Saturday, September the 7th. At the high school. For information, call 856-341-3309. And follow our Facebook. John Paulsboro Day has a Facebook. The 65th Annual Testimonial Dinner, Gibbstown Democrat Club will honor the fallen heroes of Gibbstown at St. Michael's. $35 a person, $60 a couple. May 3rd, cash bar, and cocktails at 6, dinner at 7. Dwayne Sarmiento will be he's the director of Gloucester County Office for Veterans Affairs, will be the speaker. I'll call St. Michael's and they'll give you more information. And our friends, the Marines, the Semper Fidelis Detachment of Marine Corps will hold its annual Easter flower sale, Good Friday, March the 29th, 30th, and Easter Sunday. 2 locations, Ogden Road and Leslie Avenue in Oak Valley, Deptford Township, and the VFW Post, Mellico and Route 45. It's right across from the Gloucester County Library. These sales benefit many numerous vets programs. And please help our Marines, John, because they sure have helped us. A gang awareness lecture will be presented by Detective Brad Thompson of the Gloucester County Prosecutor's Office, May 7th, 4:30 to 6, at the Administration Building in Paulsboro, the courtroom. It is given by the Borough of Paulsboro governing body. Become aware about the gangs, and are there gangs in Paulsboro? Who knows? But be aware, John. If there are, be aware. Another Chinese auction, John. Since you've been to China, John, I think you're doing it.
I didn't find one over there when I was there. They don't do that there anymore.
Jeez, it's
Full democracy.
Right.
No more auctions.
Well, we have them in Paulsboro. Neighborhood Watch of Paulsboro, Saturday, June the 1st, St. James Episcopal Church. Doors opens at 12 and auction starts at 1. Please contact any member, Barry at 423-7716. And the George D. Patton VFW Post, number 678 Paulsboro, our dear friend Commander Willie Carroll, they are in need of new members. If you have served in a foreign war, they need you to join the post. Call Commander Willie Carroll, 856-423-9801, and leave a message. And a lot of their old members have passed away to the veterans.
Well-deserved rest for them,
Yes.
by the way. Well-deserved rest. That's going to wrap it up for Bill Crane, our producer, who couldn't be with us today, for Fred Buchner behind the camera.
See you on Broad Street.
Good to be home. Until next time.
Life is a journey that we travel with a lot of uncertainty. When your family is faced with change and you're in need of understanding, direction, honesty, and professionalism, we at the Landolfi Funeral Home have a tradition of assisting you with all of your needs in any way that we can. We offer many affordable funeral services. Please feel free to call us with any questions you may have or visit us at www.landolfifuneralhome.com.
Rizzo Family Chiropractic Center in Gibbstown offers pain relief with a difference. Using specific chiropractic adjustments, Rizzo Family Chiropractic will get to the root of your problem quickly. Bring your headaches, neck, back, joint, or limb pain to Dr. Karen Rizzo. If you have recurring pain, chiropractic can help. Rizzo Family Chiropractic can relieve many sources of pain without extended treatment and ongoing therapy. Give your family the gift of caring professional pain relief with a difference. Rizzo Family Chiropractic.